Hey guys, what's up? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this figure review, I'm going to be looking at the Transformers Prime Weaponizer Bumblebee, or Weaponized Bumblebee if you want to call it that. Pretty cool figure, almost the size of a leader class, probably is the size of some leader class figures. Pretty decent size overall. He stands to the top of the head at 9 inches, to the top of the backpack maybe 9.5, so decent size overall in robot mode. Pretty spot on mold. Looks pretty much just like the show, so really happy with that. Backpack is super tiny. All it really is the wings. I mean, it's got some width to it, but no depth at all. So, and he's got real good shape to him in the torso. It actually looks like an action figure. So no complaints really. He's got really good shape overall. So no complaints about that, I should say. There are a couple complaints I have, of course. I have to have some complaints. First of all, he could have used a little bit more paint, as is common for the Transformers. If you look at the lower torso and the chest, all we have really is the black paint. Yellow plastic, black paint, that's it. There's a little bit of gray plastic in the arms, a little bit of extra paint in the face, which is definitely appreciated, but we're still missing a little bit of paint. I think it could definitely have looked way better if they just did some detail work or some dry brushing or anything really. It would have helped. That said, it still looks really good. I'm not really complaining, I'm just pointing it out. Next thing I don't really care for is the shoulder joint. Now this is also a very minor thing, but the shoulders do not actually swivel where the shoulder looks like it connects. They swivel up here, so it puts the arm, when you bring it forward, it's not too bad, but it's just kind of awkward. It's not terrible, again, it's not a big deal, it's just something to point out. It doesn't rotate where you would think it does, so it's not a huge deal. It's just something some people might care about. Personally, I don't care. The accessories he comes with is just the one blaster, which is still rubber banded to his hand, but it pegs into his hand. It's got kind of a handle thing there. Decent enough, no paintwork, but the sculpt is okay. He holds it fine. And you can also peg it back in up here if you don't want him to be holding it. You don't want it to just lay in a shelf or something. You can peg it in right there, and that's fine. So that's good. Now, the whole weaponizer thing. Each of the two figures have a different set of guns that pop out and a different way to pop them out. His are down right now, and the way you pop them out is you push on his head and they come out. And it's actually really cool, I think. This piece is the way you put them away. So you can push that down and leave it down while they're away, or you can leave it up, it's up to you. And then you push the head down and they pop out, which is really cool. And they're hidden well, and when they're out they look awesome, and they spin as you saw when they come out, or if you want to. The head is still fully articulated, and it's just a really nice touch. And another thing, I don't know if you can tell, but when you do it, you might have been able to see it. There's a red light that kind of makes his whole chest glow. So that's a cool touch. Very nice. His is definitely the better of the two. The weaponizer action, it looks really good and it functions really well. Again, it could have used a little bit of paint, but it still looks awesome. So I'm really happy with that. We already talked about the head and the shoulders in terms of articulation. Let's continue. The biceps have a swivel right there, a hinge right there, and then he does have a little bit of an articulation piece right there. But that is mostly just for the transformation. So really you just have the swivel and the elbow joint, but you have more than 90 degrees, so that's nice. There's no articulation in the hands. There's no articulation in the waist either. The hips have ball discs that are ratcheted, so plenty range of motion, and you don't really have to worry about them falling over because they're pretty stiff. He's got the thigh swivel right there and a knee hinge, which gives him a decent range of motion. Can't really use it too much though, because there's almost no play in the feet. There's actually none unless you pop them down this way, but the feet are pretty much stationary, so the knee joints and other leg joints are relatively useless. All you can really do is put them out to the side, and I mean you can use them and kind of get them to balance, but it's going to take a little bit of practice or a little bit of time due to the fact that the feet don't have any articulation. So as you can see, it's a little bit awkward to try to get them to stand on those feet, but it can be done, so it's not really terrible. I'm not complaining about it. You can't always have a lot of foot articulation in a Transformer, and he's got really big feet, so he stands pretty well despite being relatively top heavy. So as far as the articulation goes, even though he's missing a couple pieces here and there, it's still a really great figure. And in robot mode, I'm giving him a 9.5 out of 10. He's not perfect, but he's darn good. So definitely a great robot mode. Let me get him transformed, and we will talk about the vehicle mode. Okay, so I have Bumblebee transformed into vehicle mode, and although his robot mode was really nice, vehicle mode is not quite as good. It's decent, obviously it looks like a car, transforms fairly well, the panels fit together fairly well. The paint works decent, the lines line up where they're supposed to. It's just not perfect. The wheels are junky all the way around, there's no paint, and they don't spin that well. These look particularly bad with these yellow clips in the middle, so that's no good. The front end, there's a gap. No matter how you place this thing, there's always going to be a gap, so that doesn't look so great. There's not too much kibble hanging out of the bottom. There's just this gray piece right here, so that's not too bad. The rear end could definitely use a little bit more paint. All we have is these orangish taillights, so that's not the best either. As I said, in the vehicle or in the robot mode, the gun does snap onto the back part of the car, and that's okay. That just pops off if you don't want to use it. There's no filler cap though, it just is an open hole. So I don't know if you want to leave that on there or not. There are no windows on the sides. That looks horrible, and it really detracts from the overall look of the vehicle mode. So I don't like that at all. The back windows are painted blue, the front one's clear plastic, so that looks, excuse me, that looks a little bit off. And it's just not great overall. The weaponizer function is activated by pressing on the hood scoop there. Oh, while I'm here, the Autobot logo is pretty nice on the front. It's okay on the hood scoop too. Okay, so the weaponizer thing, you press that in and they flip out, but they point up. So since it's built like a machine gun, they should point forward. So it's not really the best. It's okay, but it's not great. And then you use this piece again to put them away. It's always up when they're out. So you put them away, and then you can put it wherever you want to make it look the way you want it to. But otherwise, that's it. So it's definitely not as good as the robot mode, not even close. But it is decent. It rolls okay, even though it's got the junky wheels on it. So even though it's not great, it's not really bad. I'd give it probably an 8.5 out of 10. So it's a little bit less than the robot mode, but definitely still a solid figure. And I do recommend it. It's not that expensive, and it's a pretty good size, and it's decent overall, so I do recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. I have the Optimus Prime Weaponizer figure to review, and I have some other stuff coming up in the near future, so look for all that good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.